So today, my name is Lynn, by the way. I'm a student at Brigham Young University, and I want to talk about a case for national education standards, which currently in the United States there's a lot of backlash against having national education standards, but I want to look at a few ways that national education standards could actually help the U.S. So what I first want to start off is reading a quote by a Finnish senior manager for a company in Finland. And so what he said about their education system, which Finland has one of the top education systems in the United States, is if I hire a youngster who doesn't know all the mathematics or physics that is needed to work here, I have colleagues here who can easily teach those things. But if I get somebody who doesn't know how to think differently or how to create original ideas, and somebody who is afraid of making a mistake, there's nothing we can do here. Do what you have to keep our education system up to date, but don't take away the creativity and open-mindedness that we now have in our fine school system. So I really like that quote in light of what we're talking about with national education standards, because the fact is a lot of times education standards within the United States get really bogged down in content. Kids are just required to learn a giant checklist of facts or different topics, but they just end up forgetting them. But this senior manager says it doesn't matter if the kids know all those things. What does matter is, can they think critically? So our national education standards should support student thinking critically. So why would we want national education standards? There's three reasons that I want to bring up right here that actually come from the core standards that we have right now that are still applicable to national education standards in general. But they create unified classes and content that students coming into university already know. So kids from around the United States can come from the same background, have learned hopefully at least somewhat the same things, or at least been introduced to the same topics. It also brings all the same states up to the same high standards, so that's pretty great. Each state shoots for the stars, and collectively they can help each other do that. Also, it helps to benchmark the U.S. with other international countries, which the U.S. is actually falling apart quite a bit, or falling behind quite a bit from other countries. So this could help by creating standards that bring us to international country standards that can help bring us closer to what they can do. So some common arguments against national education standards. So that probably seems like a weird thing to bring up in a presentation for national standards, but I think I'm actually going to use these three ways to talk about why national education standards would be good. So the first one is a common complaint among parents, which is national education standards don't allow my child to learn creatively. Two, teachers often complain that national education standards limit what a teacher can do in terms of making content and presentations and what's presented in the classroom interesting. So if a teacher is really locked up with content that they have to teach, how can they actually teach a student? Instead, they're actually just teaching content. So we need standards that can apply there to help the students and the teachers. And the third one is the students. If I'm always just learning facts and content, when am I ever going to use these things? So I know I've thought that quite often when I was in school, learning a bunch of different things that I just don't think I was ever going to use. So what I'll talk about later is what's more important is teaching skills, critical thinking skills. So how can national education standards keep kids creative and help the parents out? So national education standards strive for higher order thinking. And parents want thinkers. They want students that can, they want their students to be able to go to school, learn about different content, learn about higher order thinking, and learning how to generate solutions based on those things, instead of just memorizing facts. Two, the standards should help a student learn creative skills early on. So there's a study by Beghetto, who is from the University of Oregon, and he actually talked about in his studies that each time a student is able to learn critical thinking or use critical thinking, it becomes easier the next time. So having our education standards that early on bring students into higher order thinking instead of just memorizing facts, it makes it so much easier as students go on. So our education standards should do that. And three, standards should be simple enough to allow ample time for creative learning. So, for example, Finnish students develop projects during high school that they work through. So instead of sitting in a math class, oftentimes, a math or physics class, oftentimes they'll just think of a problem that they want to address with math and physics involved, and then they'll learn the math and physics that they need, and then they'll work from those projects. So education standards that allow the breathing room for students to be able to do that is what we need. And how can national education standards use teachers? Well, I don't know if I'm going to go through all three of these on this one, but for teachers, the biggest thing with national education standards is letting a teacher teach. And letting a teacher use their knowledge of the community to actually teach the students that they're teaching. So a common problem that people will have is if national education standards are coming from Washington, D.C., and I'm supposed to be teaching water conservation, but I live in Washington on the coast, where there's so much rain, maybe I'm not as concerned about water conservation as a student from Arizona. So a teacher from Arizona can use their area to talk about water conservation for longer amounts of time than the teacher in Washington would need to. So allowing a teacher the ability to use light amounts of content, just small amounts of content as a framework to be able to teach these problems and help students develop solutions to those problems is what will make the national education standard successful for teachers. So how can they keep students engaged? Well, keeping things very project-oriented is what keeps students engaged, and projects that students are interested in, obviously. So I know when I was a student, the biggest thing here was students forget content, but they don't forget skills. So I know in my high school physics class, which is what I'll actually be teaching, I don't remember anything from my content. I didn't remember anything. When I went to a college physics class, I literally was learning everything again. But what I did remember was small little projects that I had done and skills that I had developed within physics to address some problems. And those things came back. But the book work, the homework problems, those things didn't really come back for me. What did come back was doing experiments and starting to analyze things that way. So keeping national education standards where teachers can develop those things for those students and use the teacher skills can help keep everybody on the same track in terms of content, but it can also keep students engaged because teachers can use their expertise to develop fun things for students to do and work through. And because of that, maybe, in my case, I knew those experiments. When I went back and did them, the content came back. But if I just knew the content and didn't know the experiments would be quite a bit harder. So critical thinking and creative thinking for the students is the biggest driver of the U.S. economy in this day and age. So helping those students develop the critical thinking, think through these problems, and develop solutions that way is the biggest thing we can do for our students these days. So the thing I want to end on right now is actually the Finnish preamble. But an interesting side note is, when I'm talking about keeping standards light compared to what we have, our current Utah science standards for high school is 35 pages long, whereas the Finnish national standards for one of their subjects is only 3 pages long. So the reason that they do it that way is highlighted here in the preamble to those standards, where it says the learning environment must support the pupil's growth in learning. The objective is to increase the curiosity and motivation to learn and to promote their activeness, self-direction, and creativity by offering interesting challenges and problems. So instead of making really long standards, what Finland has done is created light standards and let the students come up with projects. Teachers come up with projects and let students learn that way. So we need light national education standards. And I appreciate your time today. Thank you.